nightmare wasn't over. Far from it. If anything, things are worse now. So much worse. All I thought I knew seems meaningless. I've always known there's more to this world than the mortal eye can see, but I didn't have any idea that the illusion could fall apart so easily. Somehow, despite everything, we took down those bastards, and yet it solved nothing. We were used like pawns in some twisted game, and I fell for it so easily. How could I have been so blind? How could I have not seen what we were doing? Suppose I was blinded by panic, by fear. In the end, isn't that what always causes problems like this? The fear of the unknown and mankind's desire to control said fear? Oh, I don't know anymore. But perhaps there's still a chance we can stop this thing. I'm still breathing. For now. This is Red Moon Roleplay. I pause for a moment, and then I sort of look and go, what was all that stuff about that owl you got on that letter? You seem to know about that. It's occurred to me that that's not come up again.
That was my call sign, Hawk Owl. And then there was Buzzard, which is now Anna. She's my contact for getting all these supplies. And then there was Finch, or Vova, the smiling young man that you just met.
He's involved in this.
He's...
Ivan said, where's the third one? Oh, so he was there, just before it all went to hell. He somehow made it in. What's going on, Bjorn? Why is he involved in this?
Oh, I sat down, I stopped packing. Vova he's an old acquaintance. We worked together. He came into the service while I had already been there for a while. He was a cocky rookie. You know, the worst kind. He was full of pride and had the skill set of someone who had earned it. He was the kind of soldier that you knew he would make a mistake because of this pride and he would die for it. But he never did. You know, he was sharp as a knife every time you were on a mission, and then he'd shoot you down with that smile, that young, stupid smile. It's I seemed lost in thought for a while, and
I'm sorry. Maybe it's not as important as I thought. I go and I start packing up the books and packing things. I let out a low sigh, look at Jenkins. I remark to Bjorn, so suppose it's a road trip. I might be able to... I don't know about the physical realm, but all these experiences I've had make me feel I might be able to tap into residual energies, if there is any, to be had or seen.
I'm not sure what that means, but... yeah, you mean the memories of Magda?
Imprints, visions. I'll see what we find when I get there. Something tells me it will be easier than I'm thinking it is. After all, I'm getting used to random walls opening up now.
Where do you think we should start? The Frankfurt-an-der-Oder clinic? This Pyotr?
Let's just focus and go, and at least it's something to do. I can't stay in this house anymore. I suppose at this point, how many vehicles do we have?
The one that you do have is one that has been provided to you by Anna. It's an Audi Quattro, and that's parked outside.
Oh, my car. Ugh, oh well. I start hauling things up in there then.
Yeah, I start moving things as well. I'm being a bit quiet now. I'm just putting things in there and looking up the best way to get to Frankfurt-an-der-Oder. I'm not sure about how long the driving's going to be, but a few hours, I guess.
So it's about 6 o'clock in the morning now, and if you're able to make it out quickly now, you might be able to make it before the morning rush in the Berlin area makes the roads congested.
It just occurs to me, have I now activated First for Knowledge? Have I now learnt new information about alternate planes of existence, supernatural entities, or a higher power? I think I have.
You have indeed.
And that means I regain 1 stability.
You do. And now that you're back here, you of course have your books in your little library, and you are able to remember some of the things you've read before now about Chagidiel, about these things you tried to think of when you were in that place, wherever it was. Please roll for Occult Library.
15. Which means I get to ask you 2 questions. So, these beings, what higher power does this have connections to? So, what is like the hierarchy? Now I have some names, I could maybe think like, what is Chagidiel? What sort of demon?
Chagidiel, you find several references to Chagidiel. And the distortion of wisdom is also the name of Hell's 8th circle. You also find references to a demon that supposedly stalks the woods of Borneo and eats children.
The 8th circle of hell. Fraud, deceit and lies. Is perhaps a demon of lies. Maybe that's just a coincidence. I mean, that's based on Dante's Inferno, a poem, not exactly a definitive view of hell. But,
And this thing about children, it's something that you sort of see popping up in many places. There seems to be some connection with children and the suffering of children. This seems to be where the demon tends to manifest.
And then my second question will be, looking up Chagidiel, what sort of things come up under, like, exorcism or controlling this being? What sort of things are linked with, like, things that perhaps I could do to protect ourselves or influence him, if need be?
You find references to Chagidiel's mark, something that protects his followers. As you read that, you feel this sensation at the back of your head, this migraine. It comes back, and is that like a small bump or knot? When you felt it earlier, it was smaller. It's like it's growing. Ivan Chisenko is probably correct. This is, based on what you find in the books, this should allow you to be seen as one of them, which should allow you to pass between them without them thinking that you're a threat, rather than actually thinking you're a friend. That should be of great help to you.
I remarked this aloud to Bjorn, as I assume at this point we've started driving. I sort of relay the information I've been reading. I think I know a bit more about Chagidiel. Possibly a demon of lies and deceit. Children are mentioned. Possibly he feeds on their suffering, something like that. It would make sense, what with these incarnates being the children, originally anyway. I believe this mark we've been given might, ironically, actually protect us from our foes by making us seem like we're their friends or willing servants of Chagidiel. I'm not gonna lie, we might need to play on that, as unpleasant as that sounds.
It's early morning on the roads. There's a light drizzle, raining. The radio is on low in the background. You can hear the news being dominated by this fire, and it seems as if some people have now been identified. The deputy mayor, the police commissioner, and at least one prominent CEO of a pharmaceutical company have been identified among the dead.
How do they get these people to do all this? I mean, were they influenced as well by this demon, or were they promised something? It's just...
The whole Slavic Association seems to be a big power play. They had plans, maybe the plans forced on them by these other forces.
But were they all part of the Slavic Association, these people?
If not part of it, then linked to it or friends with it. I don't think they were all... Well, I was about to say I didn't think they were all involved in demonic rituals, but then, well, they were all there that night, bloody killing people. I don't even know why they were doing that.
Exactly. Why were they doing that? What were they promised?
Power. That's what it normally is, isn't it?
Or they just enjoyed it.
I closed my book for a moment and I just rubbed my eyes because I'm tired.
As you rub your eyes, you see something in front of you. You see a mark that you saw in the books as you were studying. You remembered you've seen it somewhere else. It's a C with lines through it. You saw that mark on the floor in the temple. See? A C, the letter C with lines through it.
Chigadiel? Maybe that's his physical mark? I do believe that they have been influenced by Chigadiel the entire time. I don't know if they knew him as Chigadiel or knew what they were doing, but I feel they probably were his cult.
Huh. Well, maybe they were drawn there in various ways, just like we were eventually drawn into his plan. We're gonna be able to sneak by demons, he said? Are they like people manifested in this world?
I don't know. You saw Ivan. Maybe people have always been like that.
What did he say he was?
He said he was a servant to an archangel. Very biblical, no?
And was he human, do you think, originally? Do you think people are able to take these shapes? Could we ourselves somehow take a shape of something this, powerful, this magnificent, that could actually...
Bjorn, focus. I don't know. If it wasn't for the fact that these things are very clearly happening to us, I'd be committing both of us right now.
I smile a little. But I keep thinking about this.
And the drive continues. You arrive in the town of Frankfurt-an-der-Oder, a grey, solemn city near the Polish border. The urban decay is prevalent here. In the center of town is the Oderturm, a 24-story skyscraper that was built in the 70s with the building's name written up top. Supposed to be some kind of office building, but ended up becoming a dormitory for workers at the local semiconductor plant. As with much of East Germany, the unemployment levels here are very high, and the old industries are struggling to adapt to the competition from the West. You know all about this, Björn. This is what you were doing before. There was something before all this, wasn't there? Normal life. It feels so far away. People sit on benches in the streets or in cheap cafes. You know that some quality of life comes into the city through tourists who come here to shop in Poland. They use the bridge to get to the Polish side and leave with empty cars in the morning and return with overstuffed trunks in the evening. The Frankfurt Clinic is located in the city's outskirts, where numerous small industries and workshops are located. Most of them have shut down or operate at reduced capacity. And you see that the clinic is located in an old manor, probably rebuilt in the early 1960s. A tall concrete wall surrounds the structure's raised foundation. Beyond the crumbling wall, the clinic's exterior is an unsettling combination of decay and abandonment. And your car is now on the road close to the clinic.
Well, look at this place. Seems pretty isolated.
As you get out, you feel the air. It feels heavy and metallic, filled with particles of fiberboard.
All right, I'm leaning on the car, and I'm looking at Cara. Let's see, how do we approach this? What do we want to do here? Do we want to go to the places where Magda has been, like her rooms and things, or...?
Yes, try and see where she was, or... I mean, let's get inside. Maybe I'll have a clue when we get in. I say I'm trying to focus my mind, as I'm now getting more used to see if I can sense where to go, or if I sense anything unnatural in the area.
How does it work at these places? I mean, do I think I could get in by just identifying myself?
Well, you have called ahead. And what you know about East Germany at this point in time is that money solves pretty much all problems.
Right.
Carver, I want you to roll your sixth sense here. Feel this metallic air.
I'm afraid I got a 6. And that's not good. That means my instincts will fail to trigger in a dangerous situation. You will make a move at some point during this session.
Well, then, I'm gonna assume my guy is Fritz von Lückner.
Please roll for Camille.
11, 15.
You will have quite an efficient disguise. Which should mean that whoever meets you there do not think you are, well, anyone but Fritz von Lückner, who called ahead of time. Which may be good in case someone's looking for you, which,
Right. Let's see. Do I remember the name of the woman I spoke to?
You do indeed. Stella. Stella is the
Stella.
receptionist. She was not particularly nice.
No, she was quite short in her ways. Good. Then I'll not try and go for the charm approach, but rather be quite effective if possible.
As you approach the clinic, you see that the walls were once plastered white, but large flakes are now falling away. A gravel road leading to the entrance has devolved into a muddy path. Tangled thickets of alder and decorative bushes, remnants of some kind of garden, now grow wildly around the house. An unkempt lawn with masses of shrubbery decorate the house's front yard. And there's a cracked stone stair that leads up to the main entrance. The clinic reminds you of every bad movie you've seen, so run down and primitive as to be a caricature. There's no one outside when you arrive, but you can see curious faces pressed up against the barred windows, distorted by scratched glass.
I look around and I'm a little unfocused, to be honest. I'm so focused on getting ready to sense something that I'm maybe not paying as much attention as I normally do. And I don't feel well, even with the knowledge that I'm now learnt, perhaps grounding me a little, as, you know, the more you know, the less you fear. I still feel very shaken, not at my best.
Alright. Well, let's go up to the place and see what we can do, what we can find out.
So, you come in up this cracked stone stair. The flooring is cracked marble, reflecting the flickering glow from the fluorescent lighting in here. It's a domed ceiling that probably was painted white once. It's got flame-like patterns over its plaster now from water damage. You can hear weak cries echo from the rest of the building.
Charming.
Up in front of you is a reception counter where an elderly woman in a grey dress sits behind the counter. She's quietly knitting.
I remark to Bjorn at this point. I think you're gonna need to do the talking. I don't even know what to say, really.
That's fine. Just let me know if there's something you think we should take a look at. Alright? Keep your eyes open. And I walk over to the counter.
She continues to knit, looks up and then looks back at her knitting.
Good morning. My name is Fritz von Lückner. I called here a few days ago and I spoke to a Stella. Would that be you?
She continues to knit.
I said good morning.
She seems to be ignoring you.
I'm sorry. Is there someone here I can speak to with regards to Pyotr and his recently deceased friend Magda?
She exhales. Yes. You need to speak to Dr. Schaefer. She gets up, clearly quite irritated by having to leave her knitting behind. Come. She motions you to follow her.
I'm following along.
And she is leading you to the right here, towards the room marked 14. The door to this room here says Dr. Schaefer. She knocks at the door, Stella does, and leads you into the room where you see what must be a secretary. There's a nameplate that says Vibeke Rousing. It's a woman in her 30s sitting behind a desk with an old typewriter and several boxes of documents. There's a framed, bleached patriotic poster from the East German times that hang behind her. Everything in here is spotlessly clean and ordered, although, of course, in as bad shape as the rest of the building. It seems as if Mrs. Rousing likes order. The only thing that stands out as less than ordered is a juice box with a straw that she's drinking from. They're here to see the doctor. They called in advance.
Yes, good morning. My name is Fritz van Luckner. I'm an old friend of Magda Orlova, who I believe was confined here earlier, and also an acquaintance of Pyotr. Would you know if I could get a chance to speak to the doctor?
She nods and makes a loud slurping sound as she drinks the juice. And she points to the door behind her.
I nod and I go to open the door.
Stella starts leaving behind you. And you open the door to Dr. Schaefer's office. And Dr. Helmut Schaefer, you can see is his name. He has a relatively well-kept and bright office. It's got a view over an abandoned estate. He sits behind an enormous desk in one end of the room. There's bookshelves with medical and psychological literature that line the walls. A threadbare blue carpet covers the floor wall to wall. There's drab graphical prints that decorate the room. Björn, Mr. Schaefer has poor taste in art. Dr. Schaefer is a tall, muscular, and somewhat overweight man with a full black beard and a short-cut black hair. He has a booming voice and big, stained hands. Underneath the white doctor's robe, dark clothes can be seen. Have a seat. You are, and he stretches out his hands to shake them.
I remove my driving gloves and I shake his hand and introduce myself as Van Luckner, Fritz Van Luckner. I'm an old friend of Magda Orlova, whom I believe was... I know that she used to stay here, and...
I see. And you are? And he motions towards you, Carver.
This is my colleague, Ivan Shazenko.
Yes, pleasure.
Very nice to meet you. Well, have a seat. You'll have to pardon me if I'm a little direct here, but you must understand that my time is valuable. He's emphasizing that word and gives you each a meaningful look, smiling a bit sheepishly and rubbing his hands together.
I know exactly what you mean. So if you would be able to provide us with just short bits of information and possibly a little visit to Pyotr, would you think that would be reasonable in exchange for
500 D-marks would be probably a good bribe in this particular case.
For, shall we say, 500 seconds of time?
I see that we have an understanding. He looks very pleased. Thank you for the donation to the hospital. Perhaps we can put some of it towards fixing the facade. So, yes, you mentioned Magda and you mentioned Pyotr. With regards to Magda, I'm afraid that would be before my time here. I've only been here for about 10 years, but I can check with our archivist. He can probably find some information on this person that you're referring to. We do have a Pyotr, though. He's a lifer here at the facility, poor man. I can take you to see him.
Fantastic. We would love to see him, and if possible, see any previous rooms that Magda occupied, just to get a glimpse of her past. I know it's just not the most bright of her time, but still, it would be interesting to do.
Certainly, I'll give you a short tour of the hospital now that you're here anyways. Perhaps you can find some other places to invest in.
I appreciate that.
He leads you back out of his office and into the halls of the hospital. You first pass by the open door to the room that's marked number 17. Here is our intern, Miss Schumacher. She's doing her practical period here, focusing on psychiatry. It's a red-haired woman in her early 20s. She looks up as you pass by. Her office is sparsely decorated with a desk and an old typewriter. She looks very tired, as if she hasn't slept for a while. A look you know something about. She returns to her books.
I nod to her.
I understand she's failed a few of her exams. Well, we've all been there, huh? He laughs a little bit.
Best time of our lives.
He leads you to 18, which is the archives, where a short, hunched man who looks to be at least 75 years old is in the process of moving files around in the archive room. This is Carl Foyer. He can help you find what you need on the Magda. We have everything from the clinic's founding in 1951 until today here. And the files Dr. Tatlina brought from Moscow, of course, says Carl. Indeed.
Nice to meet you.
I'm afraid Carl's filing system is so advanced and efficient that only he finds his way around in it. But I'm sure he will be able to find what you need.
Appreciate that.
Well, let me show you a few more things here, and then we go upstairs and see Pyotr.
Thank you.
And he leads you towards the left here, and you pass by the door that's marked 19. Carver, you know that there are stairs beyond this door, and there's a really, really nasty aura that's coming from there. You feel drawn there. There are answers down there, you're certain of it.
I remark quite loudly, what's through this door here?
Oh, it's where we have our special ward. Our most difficult patients are down there. It's not really something that anyone should have to see. To be really honest,
Pyotr's not there.
Pyotr is not there. No, fortunately. No, I think we should stay far away from there. It's quite dangerous. Of course, if you insist and make a donation to the hospital, I could.
We could certainly make a donation to the hospital. I mean, I don't want to say too much about the actual reasons we're here, but let's just say we're doing a bit of research, into the field of mental health and sciences and all that. It would be very useful to us. We'd certainly be willing to pay for your time.
I'm giving Carver a very, very annoyed look at this. Can we perhaps take the tour first and miss Pyotr, and we'll see what we have time for?
Yes, that sounds like a good idea. But Carver, yes, you feel like this is not a stone that you can leave unturned. So he continues leading you here through this facility, and you pass by 13, where 2 carpenters' workbenches are placed against one wall, and there's some tools hanging. There are 2 tables in the middle of the room, and empty cupboards that probably once contained materials to work with. A lighter area on the floor marks where a loom has once sat. Oh, it's our old therapy room. Sadly, it has fallen out of use, although we hope to start using it again soon.
That's good. Maybe we help with that too.
He smiles at you. Then leads you further to room number 6. This is Dr. Doppler's office, and you see Dr. Doppler in there. He's a tall, slim man in his mid-30s, sitting at his desk, slamming away on an old typewriter. He's hidden by piles of paper. He's completing his thesis in neurology. He doesn't seem to be paying you any attention. He quickly leads you by 7, but you have a chance to look inside there as well. It's sparsely furnished with 2 scuffed tables and 8 chairs. There's 2 benches with PVC upholstery and 2 blankets that line one wall. It looks like someone sleeps here sometimes. 2 orderlies are actually sitting in here now. They're playing cards and drinking beer. They look at you and then back to their cards. Then moves you to number 8, which is the staff canteen. I hear the healthier patients used to eat here as well in the past, but we had to stop that after some unfortunate incidents. You see marks on the floor that indicate that a piano once stood in here. Tableware is stored in large cupboards along one of the walls. On the other side of the corridor, in room 9, you see an old-fashioned kitchen with an enormous coal-driven stove and heavy-duty kitchen counters of wood and marble.
Wow.
A square-shaped woman in her 50s with swollen feet shuffles about the pots and pans. There's an intellectually disabled young girl who's slowly peeling potatoes over a bin. It's extremely dirty in here. The walls are grey-black and the ceiling is damaged due to the damp. Olga here is a great cook, he says. You know the saying, right? The dirtier the kitchen, the tastier the food. No?
Well, the spices come from everywhere.
Okay, so off we go upstairs. You are led up the stairs and ascend to a bare white hall. There's solid doors with latches that line the wall. Corridors leading in both directions, and a steel door with the words Ward 1 and Ward 2, respectively. You can clearly hear the soft murmur of complaining voices. Nothing is coming from the solid doors right in front of you. Let's take a right here and go to Hall 4. Hall 4, he takes you to. There's 3 women who are playing dominoes around the table. 2 boys sit on a windowsill talking. There's no screams here. None of them appear overtly ill. These are our local patients who return home to their families over the weekends. And I think here is the area that you would like to see. It leads you to Hall 5. Most of the patients who are in here belong to the group that Dr. Tatlina brought with her from Moscow back in 1951. Everyone appears to be between 50 and 60 years old in here. Most of them are just sitting apathetically. You notice that all of them have scars on their bodies and faces from burns, cuts, or other injuries. 3 patients are secured to their beds with straps, throwing themselves back and forth, snarling and yelling. As you approach, something happens. They notice you and they begin to panic. They yell. They run away from you, as if your visage scares them. All except one. A tormented man in his 50s. He's tall and lightly overweight with grey hair and a solid eagle nose. Carries a white hospital jacket tied to the back and has a patient's bracelet around his wrist. Oh, that is odd, says Dr. Schaefer. Let me call the orderlies. We have to get this place under control. 2 large men in white shirts and trousers appear and they start to calm the patients down.
I do try and keep my distance. I don't want to antagonize these people. I do, however, focus on the one who doesn't seem disturbed.
Yes, and he waves to you to come closer. Stares at you with brown eyes. You can see that the pupils are somewhat larger than they should be, indicating that he's drugged.
Ah, good morning. Finally, we get to see you again. How are you?
He doesn't say anything, but reaches out his hand and offers you a small black porcelain doll.
I take it.
You felt a strong impulse to grab that doll. You feel like you have accepted a gift. Dr. Schaefer comes up. Oh, this is progress. Pyotr is usually catatonic. This is good steps forward here. Maybe we should have you come more often. Although I suppose that would be bad for the other patients. I really wonder what's gotten into them. Well, Pyotr is here if you would like to speak to him, although I'm not sure he's going to say something to you, actually. We haven't actually heard him talk ever. That does it for the tour. I suppose you would perhaps like to have a look at the archive afterwards. And, well, if you would like to make that donation we spoke of, we could have a very quick look in the basement. But just a quick one, yes?
Thank you very much. You've been very, very helpful. Could we sit down perhaps for a minute just here with Pyotr, and then I'll happily go to the archive and meet Carl afterwards, and maybe we could come in to your office when we are done. Would that be all right with you? I know your time is valuable.
Yes, it is indeed. Well, you can just call one of the orderlies, and they will help you find your way.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I shake his hand again.
Yes, he shakes it back, and he leaves you there. The other patients are still sort of panicking, so you have a lot of sort of screams around you, people yelling.
I ask one of the orderlies, is it possible to sit down somewhere else with Pyotr, or?
Yes, certainly. You are led to one of the break rooms they have up here. There is space there for you to sit down with Pyotr. But he doesn't say anything. He's again just staring now.
Well, Pyotr, I'm very glad we got this chance to meet you. We have recently met with your old friend, Magda. Do you remember?
He stares. You see the big brown eyes, big pupils. He's in a catatonic state again.
I take out a piece of paper I have of myself and a pen I always keep. And I draw the symbol. I draw the C, the lines through it. I just sort of slide it over within his view and see how he reacts.
He stares at the sea and he starts to shake a little bit. And then he calms down again.
Quietly, I just say, "Have you seen him?"
There's no reply to that.
In the room when we're alone, I say to Bjorn, "Could you pass me that doll, please?"
You really don't want to hand it over to Carver.
What do you want it for?
I just want to look at it, Bjorn. You can hold it too if you want. Just let me hold it for a moment. We can both hold it. That's a problem.
I just shrug and I turn back to Pyotr. Thank you for the postcard. I pull it out of my coat. It was nice that you decided to write Magda, and I hold it in front of him, see if I get any reaction.
No.
Alright. I'm sad to say that she didn't make it. Unfortunately, our friend has passed away.
Nothing.
But it's nice to see that you are being very, very well taken care of here, and, well, feel free to give us a call or send us another card if something comes up. I look at Carver and him holding the doll. See what he's doing.
Yes, can I roll enhanced awareness? To see if the illusion is weak here or in this item. 16.
It's the basement. In the basement, there's almost no border between our reality and, well, the place you visited before. The illusion is so weak down there that you'll be able to cross over without having to do more than just take a simple step. You continue to be drawn by that door down there.
But the doll itself has nothing unusual about it then, it is just a doll.
It is a black porcelain doll, but there is something important about it. There's something that you feel with it. It has an important purpose that it has yet to play.
I hand the doll back to Bjorn and I just remark, "Let's go look at the files, and then we need to go downstairs. There's something very important."
I take it in my hand and I hold it in my hand.
It feels good. It feels really good.
Nice. Alright, so let's go to the archives, I say, with a meaningful glance at Carver, and hope we not take the wrong door.
Yes, let's go.
And I head for the door that leads down to the basement.
As we leave, I look back one more time at Pyotr and I just remark to Bjorn, "I think he's gone, but I have a feeling he knows us by our mark. I think they all do. I think they can see it. Anyway, let's go to the archives.
Yeah.
You move towards where the archives and the door downstairs is. You notice that an orderly notices you as you start heading down. Starts to try to follow you, but then there's all these upset patients that he has to return to.
All right. I'm gonna wave at him and say, "Thank you. Don't worry. We'll find our way. Sorry about the problem."
He nods and allows you to continue down. As you approach number 19, you can see that this door is firmly locked. But, well, Dr. Schaefer did offer to open it in exchange for some Deutsche Mark.
What do I think about this? How is my current capital and my possibilities there?
With the funds that you were given by Anna, the various foreign currencies, you have more than enough for bribes such as this one. Just best not to make it into a habit.
Right. I look at Carver and I say, it's locked. Do you think there's anything that we should get from the archives before going down here, if this is the last thing we're doing while we're here?
I'd like to look at the archives now, yes. Potentially will be a slightly less unpleasant experience. I'm not gonna lie, Bjorn, I sense something very bad behind this door, but I sense it's important.
Yeah, I can see that in your eyes. Alright, so let's go to the archives then first.
And in there is Carl Foyer, the 75-year-old archivist. Ah, yes, how can I help you? What would you like to find?
Carl, I presume?
Of course, of course.
Nice to meet you. I'm Fritz, and this is Ivan. We were looking for files on Magda, and possibly also another friend of importance. Let's see, Philip Kramer.
Let's see what we can find. Could one of you perhaps assist me a little bit? My back isn't what it used to be, and there's so heavy boxes up here. Carver, could you perhaps help roll and investigate? And let's see if you and Carl can find what you need.
8. I may ask one question anyway, but I may expose myself to unexpected dangers or costs. You will make a hard or soft move. So as I go to help, to be honest, even though I know I need to be here, we need to investigate, my mind is just clouded by this feeling from below, this feeling that downstairs there's something, beyond this. I'll be honest, I'm probably a bit clumsy and not really focusing. But I do ask, how can we find out more about what we need to find out? So basically I am trying to find out, information on Magda's time here and Pyotr.
Right. So you ask about Magda and the children
Yes.
she came with. So in the archives you find that Magda came to Frankfurt in 1951. She transferred from the Kirov clinic in Moscow. You knew this already. This was the same year that the Frankfurt clinic opened, and you find out that it opened as an experimental facility for treating children with personality disorders. The 3 Russians, Philip Kramer, Anatoly Mahler, and Alexander Pogodin, also arrived under the same circumstances. In total, there was 44 children and youths that were moved from Moscow to the Frankfurt clinic, 23 of whom are still at the clinic. There's 14 who reside in the open wards that you have visited, and 9 others are incarcerated in the special ward. 14 other patients were discharged over the years, and 7 died in the hospital.
So of the 14 discharged, that would include the 3?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There were so many of them.
Yeah, 44.
What's the information on this? Is it literally just they were transferred to here? There's no other information, where the children actually came from?
That they came from the Kirov clinic. That seems to be as far back as the records go that you can find, at least. But as you look around in here, you realize that there could be so much more information in here, but everything is just archived in such an impossible way. I mean, it's all out of place. If you didn't have Carl with you, you wouldn't be able to find anything, and you doubt that even he finds half of what he's looking for.
Yes, no, I'm already getting distracted. I remark loudly, this filing system's a nightmare.
Yes. So that is basically what you are able to find out. You do also see indications that the ones who were discharged, they did end up in Frankfurt-an-der-Oder. You also find information about Dr. Tatlina, who was the one who first treated these children, who still resides in Frankfurt-an-der-Oder, at least according to Karl's documents.
Do you share this with me as you find it?
Yes, I do. I remark it quite distractedly. I'm probably clear to you that I'm not on my game here. I'm not, I'm reciting the facts very much. I don't seem to be drawing any connections. After a moment, I just go like, I suppose at some point going to Moscow might be worth an investigation, eh?
Yeah.
I put down the papers and I just yawn because I'm exhausted, and I just look at Bjorn and go, we haven't got too much time. I don't think we'll find anything else for now.
Right. Yeah, I guess we got most things anyway in our own files. Okay then, so let's have another talk with the doctor and see if he wants to let us into the sealed areas.
Yes.
You come back to Dr. Schaefer's office. Vibeke, rousing again, points for you to continue into the doctor's office. And yeah, he's there. I hope you have found what you were looking for.
Yes, thank you. Everything so far has been most helpful. I'm playing with the porcelain doll in my hand. You said there might be a possibility that we could help with donations to improvements to the lower levels.
What we're dealing with down there is patients who have an extreme form of stigmatization. Sometimes they, I'll be honest, sometimes they barely seem human. But they are, of course. Shall I lead you in and show you?
Of course. No, we'll be discreet.
Yes, please. And of course, the donation, if you would.
Yeah, I unfold another little set of bills.
So Schaefer walks ahead of you down the narrow stairs into the basement. The door he opens first, of course, and knocks on the door to the orderly's room here. The door opens and a large-built man comes out and nods silently as Dr. Schaefer explains that you're here to look at the patients. Behind, in this orderly room, you can see 2 tables, simple armchairs, and an electric stove where a coffee pot is brewing. They also seem to have been playing cards. They have cattle prods sitting beside them on the table. The large-built man unlocks the door to the special ward with a large metal key and leads you, and Dr. Schaefer kind of drops back a little bit to remain a little bit behind you. He starts to sweat and is trembling slightly. The heavy steel door swings open, igniting a series of inhuman roars as from wild animals. The orderly reluctantly lets you pass. Keep some distance from the bars, would you?
Sure, of course. And I go in.
The patients you see in the cells here are monstrous. Spiked skeleton pieces protrude out of naked bodies along the back and at the joints. Sporadically, the skin has peeled away, exposing grimy white plastic and matte metal. Their heads are deformed with low brows and prominent jaws filled with predatory teeth. Some of them are strikingly hairy, while others have no hair at all. Coarse claws scratch the cement floor as they try to reach for you through the bars. They go crazy as you approach, similar to the patients upstairs, throwing themselves back and forth in an attempt to tear off the chains and rip up the barred gates. The most severely deformed patient you see barely looks human, has fish-like enlarged eyes and completely lacks body hair. Hands end in large claws, and the face is dominated by a strong jaw. One of them has tentacles which look like ropes instead of hair, all dressed in hospital robes that are tied to the back. The hospital robes are full of vomit and blood. I want you to roll to keep it together as you see this.
So, 9.
I got 20 minus 1, 19.
Björn, this is all starting to be too much. You've seen so many things in just the scope of a few hours. You have somehow been able to push through this up until now. But this isn't even possible. How can humans become like this? What is this? You will suffer emotional trauma, bringing down your stability by a further 2.
I kind of just stare, and I kind of acknowledge that this is all horrific, but...
You stare, and this is the normal now, you say to yourself. And that's when one of the patients gets out of the chains and starts rushing for the bars and pulls the bars off and approaches you. What do you do?
I will try and avoid harm. 13. So I just start trying to back away.
Yeah, and this is one of the patients that has like long claws. You back away, and you back away quite good, but you still get a fairly deep cut in your abdomen from this claw as it so slashes at you, and you feel like blood starting to come out, and you like slump over. The orderly runs up to this creature with the cattle prod and starts like, shocking it with it, and it screams an animal-like scream.
I'm holding my hands tight around the porcelain figure, and I feel my gun in my shoulder holster almost burning, trying to get me to pull it out.
You blink and reality shifts. The cell walls are now half collapsed, revealing a labyrinth of small rooms spreading outward. All the patients are suddenly quiet. It looks as if they're trying to hide in their cells. Heavy footsteps can be heard approaching. 3 sets of feet coming closer and closer.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the campaign The Black Madonna for the tabletop role-playing game KULT Divinity Lost. The Black Madonna was originally constructed by Gunilla Jonsson and Mikael Petersen in 1991, with additional material for the 2017 edition by Marco Berman, Matthias Fredriksson, Petter Nallo, and Robin Liljenberg. KULT Divinity Lost is published by Helmgast. The music was created by Atrium Carceri and is used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Visit cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel to hear more excellent dark ambient. A new episode of Red Moon Roleplaying is released every Friday. Please like our Facebook page and give us comments, input and feedback there. You can also visit us at redmoonroleplaying.com. Finally, a big thank you to all supporters. If you want to show your appreciation and encourage our work, look out for us on Patreon and see if you want to support the show there. While the show will always be free of charge to our listeners, Patreon supporters will have access to extra material, such as a bonus podcast where we answer your questions about the campaign and role-playing games in general. If you just can't wait, you can even get access to the full-length, raw and unedited versions of our gaming sessions way before they are released as finished episodes. Thanks for listening. Looking forward to meeting again next week.